I'm tired of the lies you tell me. Lies you tell me.
All right, everybody. This is Steve with Real Progressives. I hope you all are having a great Sunday night. I have been following this Alexandria Ocasio Cortez character from the minute that she got into the race, even before. And I got to tell you, the hubbub about every move she makes is almost as ridiculous as watching the paparazzi follow Lady Di and all the other celebrities that you've ever seen. The only difference here is that we're watching Alexandria Ocasio Cortez and her freshman first month on the job, literally thrusting the friggin' A train right through the Overton window and into our hearts and minds, giving us dreams to suddenly consider. And suddenly we are all now talking about a Green New Deal. Suddenly people that have never heard of modern monetary theory are becoming MMT aficionados. You've got people all over Twitter talking about it. You've got folks in every part of our country and around the world now suddenly talking about modern monetary theory. Now, why is this important, you might ask? Well, first things first, as long as we have been involved in progressive politics, as long as you've been around progressive politics, the almighty question of how are you going to pay for it has come up over and over and over again. There's no getting around it. It is the one thing that you will always hear. You saw Hillary Clinton pounding on Bernie Sanders through every one of the debates. You see people in every walk of life trying to answer the almighty question of how are you going to pay for it? And it never goes away, and it never will go away until we learn how to answer this question. And that is, Congress will authorize spending the exact same way it does for the military, the exact same way it does for every other thing that we ever need. When there's a natural disaster, Congress authorizes spending. They don't raise taxes. They don't do anything else. They authorize spending, and the spending is done. So why is it that we have this 70% marginal income tax discussion going on? Why is it that we have a government shutdown going on? Why is it that we have every media outlet around talking about all these sidebar issues, but none of them are really diving into the real issues that are at play? It's because for the last 40 years, we have been inundated with massive amounts of propaganda. We have been propagandized into oblivion to the point where we can't even fathom the most basic decencies taken care of by our government. I can't understand why this is the case, but I accept that that is the case. And unfortunately, what you've got is a situation right now, as you speak, you could see it in every alternative media outlet. You can see it in every mainstream media outlet. When the term modern monetary theory is brought up, their heads explode because they've been led to believe that we can't do anything. We can't do anything whatsoever other than just grin and bear it. Grin and bear it, eat our peas, and watch as the right wing and the center right of the Democratic Party, the neoliberal wing, give away our national treasures to corporations, give away special dispensation to corporations, give away the farm to banks, give away all of our regulatory safeguards to banks, and leave us without any safety nets whatsoever. Have you ever wondered why you're constantly feeling a bit like you're free falling? Have you ever wondered why when shit's hitting the fan, there's nothing there backing you up at all? Have you ever wondered why we're always at each other's throats? Does it make sense to you that we're at each other's throats, but the rich are not at each other's throats? I can't understand it. It hasn't been able to register in my mind because, quite frankly, it's so obvious that that can't possibly be the reason why. It can't possibly be that they've put 3 bones in the yard, but put 10 dogs out there. 10 dogs fighting over 3 bones is a guaranteed massacre. It's a guaranteed gang war. It's a guaranteed, gun down in the middle of the streets. When survival's on the line and they purposely withhold what we need, is it any wonder we hate each other? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. And I think it's all very, very easily documented. So you look down south and you've got Donald Trump pushing for a wall. Now this wall, maybe it's good for some, maybe it's bad for some. Put the morality or your lack of love for the wall aside for a moment. Let's talk about why the wall is even a thing right now. We have eliminated the ability to do anything for the people that live within the country. We have made it so that if you don't have anything, you're not going to get anything. And when more people come into the country, be it Mexicans, be it Muslims, be it someone else, someone other, the first thought you have in this game where there are 3 bones and 10 dogs is kill or be killed, is get out of my country, stop taking what's mine. I got to take care of my family because my government won't take care of me. And the government has proven itself inept so often that these individuals believe beyond the shadow of a doubt that the government is absolutely incapable of tending to their needs. Absolutely incapable of tending to their needs. When you underfund programs, when you ensure that regular people are always going to be waiting in long lines, are always going to be inconvenienced by when they show up for the services, the place looks like a dungeon. It looks like a prison. The people there smell bad. The paint is peeling away. The furniture's got tape on it. It is intended to make you feel like you've hit rock bottom. So when you've got people coming up from the South, you want to keep them out, don't you? You want to keep them out because you can't even get your teeth fixed. You can't get your medical bills taken care of. You can't go to school. You can't find work. And damn it, these other people are coming into the country. They're going to take what you feel is yours. It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? That a country that's supposed to be the richest country in the world would have such struggles. Something's got to be up, right? Something has got to be up. For us to be this foobar, something has got to be up. Well, something is up. And that's what you're seeing with Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. She's figured out what the golden key is. She realizes that without economic justice, there can't be any racial justice. There can't be any environmental justice. There can't be any equality or peace with justice. Because you can't widely invest in green energy without having a way of paying for it. You can't bring about income equality by reducing the money for the rich, by taking from the rich when taxes are literally deleted. You've got to spend on the poor to take away the feeding trough of the rich. Hence, a federal job guarantee as part of the Green New Deal and as part of the core essence of modern monetary theory. Alexandria Ocasio Cortez has tapped into all this. So why is she getting lambasted from the left? Why is she getting lambasted from the right? Why is she getting lambasted from the so-called center? Usually when you get close to the right answer, you feel the most heat. When you're over the target, you take the most flack. She's right there, hovering over the target. And it's time for her to drop a truth bomb. And she did that the other day when she stepped forward and says, I'm about modern monetary theory. When that happened, you heard the bomb go, boom. And subsequent, the secondary effects were minds exploding, where it's like, wow. This freshman did what all these senior folks were too afraid to do. She went ahead and let the cat out of the bag. She told everybody how exactly federal financing works. She told the world how federal financing works. And you would like to believe that everybody would be very excited about that. You'd like to believe that everybody would be jumping for joy over that. Because all of a sudden, you go to the Wizard of Oz and you pull back the curtain and you realize dude's wearing lederhosen and frigging, a thong G-string, and he's got zits all over his back and everything else. And it's like, man, I'm just going to savate kick your ass now. I get the game. The game's rigged. I'm not going to let you freaking deal with this shit like this anymore. No way. So I think that it's really important to look and see the games that are being played. Now, I want to tell you, the left, I'm always being told not to punch left, not to punch down. But I say to you this. When you've got somebody who's come into town and says she wants to abolish ICE, but makes the distinction that she is not saying end deportations because some Nazi was deported from the Bronx. And she's saying, hey, I want to end ICE. I want to get rid of ICE. But I'm not going to, getting rid of ICE doesn't stop deportations. That's another subject. That's called immigration reform. We got to talk about that. But getting rid of these jackbooted thugs and ICE, well, that's a no-brainer. So, but the left is never satisfied. And I say this as a member of the left. The difference is that I understand how hard it's been over the last 30 years to advance modern monetary theory to the point where we could talk about having a Green New Deal. The other people that were fighting for a Green New Deal couldn't econ their way out of a soggy, wet paper bag. No joke. So here's this girl, this young freshman, that danced her way. She said, you ain't putting baby in a corner. And danced her way right to the limelight with the Sunrise Movement. And she said, this is how we're going to do it. Stop asking me how we're going to pay for it. The same way we paid for the fucking military. That's exactly how we're going to pay for it. You didn't sit there and talk about hyperinflation. You didn't talk about Zimbabwe. Venezuela never came up. You're an idiot, a loser, a microphone abuser. Stop with the pay-fors. Why don't you ask the GOP how they plan to pay for their tax cuts? Oh, snap, they're going to raid every one of the social safety nets and destroy it so that they can pay for tax cuts for the rich. Well, that's just straight up FUBAR, right? So here she comes in, and she raises a 70% marginal income tax rate. Now, what is a marginal income tax rate? There's a margin, there's a level. And she's saying 70% for income made past $10 million a year. Don't cry for me, Argentina. I mean, for realsies, when you've got guys like Bezos making enough money, enough scratch to buy and sell countries, whose every minute, if you see the ticker for his wealth going up, it's like this. He's buying your house every 5 minutes. Every minute, actually, I think it is. Some ridiculous amount. It's like $250,000 a minute the dude's making. So she's saying, hey, might not be a bad idea in terms of curbing emissions and curbing the amount of outsized opportunity these people have to the resources of our world, that pieces of paper should not give them so much power over the real resources of the planet, that we can't control the environment because there's 8 people that have the wealth of the bottom 50%. 8 people have the more wealth than the bottom 50%. Think about that. So in the United States, we've got a bunch of those guys that are in that top bracket. Dan Snyder, the owner of the Washington football team, Dan Snyder just bought $100 million yacht. A yacht. I wonder how much energy that puppy puts out. $100 million yacht that he went and got the IMAX studio certified. Folks, 70% marginal income tax rate has nothing to do with paying for a Green New Deal. It does, however, have everything to do with limiting the amount of real resources and pollution that people can put into the atmosphere. Now, she made an unfortunate statement, or it was captured unfortunately, whatever, with how are you going to pay for it? I assure you, the people that are in her ear, and I know them personally on a first name basis, they have assured me, from Bob Hockett to others, that she knows modern monetary theory and she understands the limit to spending is our ability to produce the goods and services we want to purchase, whether it be from imports, whether it be from just production in the United States, whether it be access to the real resources that underlie it, from labor to, petrol products, renewables, whatever it is that we're looking for. Now, I bring this up because we get confused. We've never had a politician ever that was willing to talk about modern monetary theory in public. It's never happened. Never. Not once. Now we have one. And so we're like waiting for her to say the wrong thing or waiting for her to blow the lid off on the right thing. Everybody's sitting there waiting for her to do something stupid, waiting for her to misspeak, waiting for her to step in the wrong place, step in a cow pie, step on a landmine, step on something. Misspeak, say something so they can create a new video, so they can point and say, see, she's not a friend of the Latino community. She's not a this. She's not a that. She doesn't understand economics, blah, blah, blah. Now listen, I'm not here to champion a politician because I subscribe to a nonpartisan belief in not me, us, the 99%. But I am here to tell you that if you want a blueprint by which to follow, whether you're trying to build outside of the duopoly or inside the duopoly. It starts with being economically literate. There's no more excuses now. The excuse mill is gone. The curtain is back. We see the wizard for who he or she is. And there's no more excuses. You must do better. You know better, you do better. And so the next piece of this is, and this hurts a little bit, but I'm just going to be real honest. Ajamu Baraka, guy who I have tremendous respect for, guy who I like an awful lot. A lot, okay? Made a tweet that he probably felt was right on target. A lot of his followers probably felt like it was right on target. However, upon further review, it's completely not on target. Jamu Baraka came out and said, hey, if you're going to steal the name Green New Deal, at least steal the 50% cut to the military budget to pay for it. Now, I've talked about this so many times, my head's going to explode, but it seems like we have to revisit this very frequently, so we're going to do it tonight. When you have an economy, in this case, we're going to call it the United States economy. We have inputs, we have outputs. The three possible inputs to the United States economy are A, public debt. In other words, the United States prints money, which it doesn't do, by the way. It creates money. It spends money into existence. We never just print it. It's always spent with a purpose via some congressional appropriation. That means a bill. That means an automatic stabilizer that's been passed. That means some sort of government spending. The government neither has dollars nor doesn't have dollars. It creates dollars when it needs to spend. That's the way it works. Period. Doesn't tax first, then spend. It spends, and then it taxes some of it back later. That's number one. The second place that it can come up with income, as it were, the economy, the macro economy, is private debt. That means you and I, the businesses, the state governments, the local municipals, go out and borrow money from private banks. That's the second way to fill the economy up. Well, guess what happens? Let's say I'm a really, really great guy and I make a lot of cheddar. Let's say I'm making well over six figures. And I buy a house and I get student loans and I buy a car and I am saving for my kids' college, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. All of a sudden, I get to a point where there's no more available credit for me. I'm tapped out. And if enough people are tapped out, the economy dries up. Or, as has happened in the past, these disgusting predatory lenders come up with new and improved ways to get us to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into debt, to the point where there's no potential way for us to pay that debt off. But that's the second way of filling the bathtub up. And then the third way is what we call trade. If we are an exporter, we bring money into the country, other currencies, etc., into the country. We exchange those currencies for United States dollars or whatever, and that's another way to bring money into the economy. So we got three ways of bringing it in. And then the way we let it go, drainage, is private savings, taxes, you name it. So in other words, when the economy starts overflowing, if we're hitting inflation or whatever, they might sell bonds, they might do a number of things, but they will oftentimes raise taxes, and that's the drain at the bottom, and they take pressure off the economy by raising taxes, and that money is deleted. So there's a bathtub. It's filled with those three inputs I told you about: public, private, rest of world / exports. When we look at the way that goes, we look at the level of the bathtub. Are we at full employment? If we're not at full employment, as they say, the deficit is not high enough. We've got to spend to full employment. Because the government created unemployment by instituting the first tax. Think about this. So the federal job guarantee, which is what Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is advancing, and not just any old job guarantee, but a job guarantee that is carbon neutral, that will eradicate involuntary unemployment forever. So why does this piss people off? Why has this got the freaks on the right crazy, and why has it got the people on the left crazy? Well, I'll tell you why. People on the left have been sold a bill of goods by neoliberals about a UBI. So they're up in arms because they want their UBI. They don't realize that that was always Milton Friedman's plan from Jump Street, because the only thing wrong with capitalism is we need more capitalism. So they're pissed off because she's talking job guarantee, but we already have a basic income and Social Security. Let's expand it. Let's change it. Let's add different categories to it. Whatever. We've already got a basic income. Moving on. We don't have an answer for involuntary unemployment. But yes, we do. The federal job guarantee. So that's why she's focusing on it. See how that works? But what happens when we have a federal job guarantee? The people are no longer making bad choices because they've got an income, because they can make different choices, because they're not desperate anymore. They've got a living wage with living benefits. They're working in their local communities, federally funded, locally administered, and they're doing pretty damn good. But guess what else? The people coming up from the South are no longer a threat to taking those jobs away, because there is a right to a job. There's a guarantee, a job guarantee. Serving your local community. And if your local community happens to suck, it doesn't matter. You're no longer worried about whether you can find work, because you know you can pick up and go somewhere and immediately, bam, have a job guarantee with benefits, you name it. So why is it that the right is pissed off and that you would think they'd love the idea of people working, right? Wrong. Because what happens when you've got a federal job guarantee at a living wage with living benefits? Now all of a sudden the businesses have to rise up too. Shouldn't be a problem though, because with everybody having money coming in, now they can spend on those goods and services too. So all these grocers, these local grocers, you name it, suddenly have income. Wow, what a concept. So why the piss and the moaning? Because what they've done is they've eradicated the right of the employer to hold destitution over the heads of the workers. The workers now have maximum flexibility. They can stay on the job guarantee, or they can roll back into the private sector, or they can go work in a co-op. They can do whatever they want. And if the employer is a real jerk, the employee can look for other work while working the job guarantee. We could even compensate things like caregiving, taking care of an elderly parent, taking care of a spouse. And guess what a job guarantee also does? And this is another reason the right doesn't like it. Well, on the center right, the corporatists, the duopoly. Why they don't like it? Because once you have a job guarantee, you've eliminated the stranglehold of the employer of last resort that the military has become. Now, all of a sudden, you're starving the military-industrial complex the right way with bodies. Now, back to Ajamu Baraka and cutting the military 50%. If you cut 50%, you've lowered your bathtub significantly. You haven't added anything to it because in order to add to it, you've got to spend. So let's say you do cut the military. Why not repurpose the military? You've got a system that works. Granted, it's built for maximum destruction. But why not use it to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure? Why not use it as a way of repurposing what we deem a peacetime economy? Why not create real defense? Think about this. What could be more of a national defense than having our power grid, having every one of our bridges secured, the levees, the dams, the freaking nuclear reactors? Hello? I would call that straight up national defense. What the hell is wrong with people? And I want to tell you something. How many diseases out there are not profitable to solve? All of them? Why not use the research and development and the scientists of the military to find cures for diseases that have long baffled us? Things that maybe don't have the kind of profit margin that Merck and others would like, that Johnson & Johnson would like. Why not repurpose that science wing of our Department of Defense and make it really defend us against disease? Why not solve cancer? Think about it. It's already there. It's already there. You don't have to that's why I say stop asking for a basic income. You've already got Social Security. It's already there. Stop reinventing the fucking wheel. You got the military there. Let's use it to mobilize out for this Green New Deal. The high-level jobs we need to fix things. I don't understand why we are not able to think. Why do we always have to rip something apart before we can build? We don't have time. We don't have time. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. And I want to tell you this too. You do with this what you want. But you've got one woman in Alexandria Ocasio Cortez saying this, but you've also got Ro Khanna. Now, I know Ro's gotten a couple hits because of his Silicon Valley connections, but let me tell you something. Ro Khanna knows modern monetary theory too. And let me tell you also, Stephanie Kelton is in the ear of many of these Justice Democrats. You think there's not a little mini brouhaha revving up? There is. And let me tell you something super frustrating. For years now, I have spent massive time trying to get the Green Party to become what they could be and be the party that takes the Green New Deal to the finish line the way they wanted it. Now, mind you, there's zero green Congress critters. There's zero green senators. There's zero green governors. That makes it pretty tough to pass a Green New Deal, doesn't it? And the laws that are out there that prevent third parties from being effective right now are unfortunately things that have to be solved by the very people that hold the power. Go figure. We're going to have to find a way around that to make that shit work. We're going to have to figure a way around it. But for right now, we got to figure out how to get things passed now, while building power outside the duopoly to keep pressure on them to force them to continue to change. But the numbers of people learning about MMT here recently has blown up. Jordan Chariton, I know, knows modern monetary theory now. Now he maybe doesn't know it down to the depths, but I know for a fact the man knows it. I know Tom Hartman, even though he is a waif-like figure that waffles around and spins poetic for the friggin' establishment. I know Tom Hartman knows it. I know Sam Sater knows it. I know the TYT folks who have had Kelton on know it. I know Jimmy Dore knows it. I know Graham Elwood knows it. I know all around the world, in Europe and England and Australia, they know it. Get Up in Australia, big, huge activist group, they get it. Folks, this is a huge movement, huge. And Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is busy letting people know we can do this. She's talking. Black Socialists of America came out and said, we got you. We see what's going on. We know you're talking to Stephanie Kelton. Fuck yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So, what is it that we have to do to unify the left and get the left to realize that while you're building power outside the duopoly, that doesn't abdicate your responsibility to help us fix what we can fix today? I'm not asking you to join a party. I'm not asking you to be a vote blue no matter who. For God's sake, I'm not asking that. Don't ever accuse me of saying it, because I didn't say it. But I am saying that there are laws and movements and bills today that we can get going while we're building whatever. You're building whatever. We're building whatever. Everybody's building whatever. Fucking stay the course and let's drive this stake into the heart of neoliberalism. Now, I want to tell you something. You could say whatever you want, but I have a son with autism, and I know that there are transitions. How many of you guys have a child with autism? I bet you there's a lot of you out there that have a child with autism. Then that means you understand what it means to have to transition them from eating to bath time. That means you know what it's like to have to get their shoes on to leave the house in the morning, right? There's transition strategies. You got to show them cards. You got to do something different. There's got to be a transition. We live in a very, very Titanic-sized world where people can't just turn on a dime. There is no missing the iceberg, man. You've got to really know in advance you're going to go, and it's going to be a slow turn. So that means you need to be prepared to have a transition from outrageous, unregulated neoliberalism and capitalism to whatever flavor of social democracy and socialism or whatever we transition to. There is no drop the bomb and we're done. And if there is, we're done. So when I hear people talking about this whole, hey, we're not a pure, automated communism, whatever. It's like, are you 3 years old? Are you a child? There's got to be a transition. There'll be a transition from fossil fuels to green energy. Trust me, there'll be a transition. There'll be a transition from face-to-face classrooms to online classrooms. Wow. Let's show you what a lack of transition looks like for online shopping and malls. How many empty malls just scattered across America? You go in there and the chains are up because they didn't plan it out. That's unused space wasted that will never come back because there was never a transition strategy. This is what you call allowing the baddest, the worst of us to go out there and force change when they didn't consider the frickin' transition strategy. The transition is as important as the end state. You're always in transition. So you've got to do no harm. You've got to do the best you can to transition. Why is this such a difficult deal for people to understand? I don't know. It's easy as shit for me to get. I ain't nobody special. Why in the hell can't people understand that there's got to be a transition? There's got to be steps. You got to plan it out. You can't just yell and scream and hold up a cardboard sign and demand a change and that's it. That's not even remotely how this shit works. So why in the world are we sitting there dealing with people that don't get that we need a transition? We got to have a plan. How many of you have husbands, wives, children in the military right now? I bet you have a lot more than you know. So when you think about this, there should be a transition to getting people out of the murder business and into the green business, into the saving business. Just like when somebody returns from a war they didn't want to be in, and there's no transition strategy to going from shooting people in the head to suddenly standing on a corner and wondering what their purpose in life is. There are transitions in everything that we do in this world. Why is it impossible for us to plan? Why is it that we are unwilling to consider that there has to be transitions? This is a key component to everything that we're going to do as we go forward. You don't want to leave people behind and create a new batch of angry, bitter, left behind people. We want to go forward whole as the 99. We want our plan. Think about this, man. Why are we not capable of seeing the world the way we'd like to see it? Because we've closed our eyes to the possibilities. Because we've gotten so demoralized from getting the shit kicked out of us day in and day out that we stop dreaming. We stop considering. We stop being logical. And we're now just emotional beings. Stressed out, stretched to the hilt, no downtime, no ability to read a book anymore. No time to spend time with our children. No time for any of this stuff. We're literally moving at breakneck speeds. And we're about to snap. We're not made for this. We need a transition too. This is all about transitions. All of it. And so when you look at Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, who has gone from civilian to 3 weeks on the job. I guess today is almost 3 weeks. How many people do you know that started a job 3 weeks in that have created the kind of movement of the Overton window, have gotten placed on financial committees, have done all these things as just a junior person in the first 3 weeks on the job? Bet it's a pretty tiny pretty tiny minority. Pretty tiny. It's up to each one of us to create the environment of inclusion so that we're all capable of transitioning to the place we want to be, which is a more just, fair, and equal society. One built on sustainability, one built on ecological science that is sustainable. We want to work on a health and wellness side of things where we have balance in our lives, so we nurture more than just our strict can he accomplish tasks. We want to be able to kick back, look at the sun, read a book, lay in the grass, not care, smoke a joint, do whatever. It shouldn't have to be a life that is so banjo tight and terrified of losing out that we make horrific decisions. I think to myself, as we get our operations better and better aligned, as we build our media, as we get our platform stronger and we're able to broadcast out across a bunch of mediums all at once, I hope that we can get an even larger audience to understand the need for transition, so that we're working together, we're planning, we're thinking, and that we consider what the possibilities are to dream a better dream. So I will ask you this favor. If you can help us here at Real Progressives and you have skills, we need them. Please volunteer. If you are willing and you like what we're saying, you believe the mission that we're putting forward, you believe the voices that you're hearing, you believe the methods, and you believe the science of MMT, and you believe that what we're shooting for is something you'd like to contribute to, we would love for you to become a monthly patron as we create our members-only sites. We're going to be providing premium content. We're going to be giving access to people, a whole lot of different things that will hopefully make the experience fun and enjoyable and also educational. But it takes fun. So if you would be a monthly donor, we would greatly appreciate it. And also, something else, if you are a writer, folks, and you know MMT, there are more articles coming out on a daily basis. It's like whack-a-mole. Garbage articles talking smack about MMT. And there's only so many of us capable of responding to these articles in a speedy enough time to make it worthwhile before they've done too much damage. We need writers that can help us write rebuttals to these ridiculous smears and a whole bunch of other things too. But if you want to be a part of this, we've got room for you here, trust me. So what I'm going to say is, it's late. Hopefully our next broadcast here on YouTube through OBS will be much better. But in the meantime, hopefully this was good. And please keep in mind that we are in transition and that we can do great things together. So hopefully y'all learned something. Hopefully you'll have some patience. And in the meantime, have a great night, everybody. I'm out.